Welcome back to America Continues with Jim Sharp on USA Radio Networks. 19 minutes after the hour. Our phone number is 855-711-4USA. 855-711-4USA if you'd like to join the show. Also, by the way, if you'd like to drop an email here, we're always open to hearing from you. It's Jim. Here's the problem, James. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now. Here's the problem. If I tell them jim@sharponpoint.com, they might type
Jim
it,
Sharp at
no, they might do Jim at SHARPONPOINT instead of Jim at Sharp, which is SHARPE.
I'll have to check with our head of email development, but I think that I know it.
We're actually developing emails. I thought I did that any time I sat down and typed one out.
Well, Hillary Clinton had one, so I thought we needed one too. But yeah, if they don't put in the E on your website, it goes to the right place.
Right.
Let's check the email though.
All right, so we'll see if anybody email, because I'm afraid it's all going to the wrong place. And they're getting offers to reduce the size of their mortgage and grow the size of body parts. I don't want that going on. All right. Here's the thing that really has been on my mind. And I'll tell you why. Because I found myself yesterday, not intentionally, but I found myself near the apartment complex where these guys that shot in Garland got killed. The failed attempt to disrupt the Prophet Muhammad cartoon contest. It just sounds silly if you stop and think about it. Where these guys lived in Phoenix. I live in Phoenix. Got done with the show, and I'm cruising right by this area, and I think to myself, this is where it is. It's right over here. And I look over there, and I see three news vehicles, and I'm like, yep, that's the place. And I pulled in there. A friend of mine, by the way, has put together a little photoshopped picture that basically says, "Come on by, if you morbid, if you just want to do some morbid gawking, and they're charging $10 if you want to tour the place." No, it's not like that at all. But I actually stopped by because I actually knew one of the news guys that was there, and we went over and I hadn't seen him in a while. We chatted for a couple of minutes, and he said, "Yeah, there's not really anything to tell you about what's going on here." That is, of course, unless you actually lived in the same apartment complex as these guys, like Justin Collier.
I want them to cancel.
Yeah. Listen to what Justin Collier says here, because he's darn fed up with this place. And you know what? I gotta say, I got some sympathy for the guy.
I got here at about 11 o'clock last night, and they told me I needed to leave immediately. I couldn't stay in the area. I couldn't get into my house. I just had to go.
Okay, so that was the night of the shooting. So 11 o'clock Phoenix time, which is like, 2 a.m. Eastern. He comes home, and they're like, no, you can't come. And they don't let him come back in until the next morning. Well, I guess it was, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I believe, is when everybody's allowed back in. But this guy, he's not just mad at ISIS, he's mad at the apartment complex.
I want them to cancel my lease and get me out of here. This isn't the first time things like this have happened. We've had SWAT teams here. We've had people held captive. We've had people murdered here. I want out of this place, man. There's nothing about this place that makes me want to stay here.
Wow, there's been other things like this? There's been other terrorists living there? No, that's not what he means, of course. But
maybe in Arizona with the 9/11 guys practicing flying here.
Yeah.
That apartment complex has a bad rep.
Yeah, no, there's
for rodents.
Unfortunately, there's been the nexus of some terrorist acts, or the genesis or whatever. Some of them have been planned here, and some of them have been trained for here. And I mentioned Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City bombing. That the Terry Nichols, the other guy, and all that. He lived in Kingman, Arizona. Guy behind bars, federal, spent a life in prison, and I think him and Timothy McVeigh kind of hatched the plan. And there's still a terrorist act that actually was carried out in Arizona that is still not. It's been 20 years since the Sunset Limited, an Amtrak train out in the desert west of Phoenix, went off its tracks, and somebody set that up so it would happen intentionally, and we still don't know what caused that. We still don't know who was behind that. So there's a lot of terrorism stuff going on in Arizona. But I was thinking about this I actually looked it up on Google Maps, and I'm like, I live 2 miles from this place where these guys were hatching their plans to go and shoot up the Prophet Muhammad cartoon contest. 2 miles. And I don't have a lease. I'm buying my house. By the way, I always do that when when you're filling out the form and it says, do you lease, do you rent, or do you own? I'm like, no. I scratch out own. I go buying. I'm not. I don't own that sucker yet.
Still.
Yeah, still buying. So I got a 30-year plan going there. And after the refi, they reset the clock. So it's got me upset because I don't want. Not only does my wife and my baby daughter live with me, my pregnant wife, also a few miles away, living in downtown Phoenix, going to a journalism school at ASU is my daughter. My son lives about 2.5 hours north, and then my ex's daughter, who I consider my kid, she lives not too far away either. And it's like, these guys, I got a problem with this. I've got a problem with this. But were they really, really, really working with ISIS? Honestly, were they really working with ISIS? I mean, is that something we can really believe? Afterwards, ISIS tweeted, calling them mujahideen and praising them for what they did. And now, Senator Ayotte wants to kind of look into this and see what the deal is here. I mean, is there, with ISIS claiming responsibility for the attack, lawmakers are turning their attention back to the group's recruitment methods, and New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte wants something to be done about it. She was talking to Fox News earlier today about this, as a matter of fact.
We're going to have a hearing in the Homeland Security Committee on ISIS use of social media, their recruitment, and how our intel is gathering and how we're working with our allies to take the fight to ISIS overseas so they aren't continuing to attack us.
So, they are. They're using social media to recruit. They're using social media to praise people doing bad things. They're using social media to take responsibility for bad things. Actually, really bad in the case of ISIS. It didn't work out so well for them once again. The guys slightly injured a security guard, and then they got all shot up themselves, and their car got blown up afterwards, too. So it didn't really work out for them. Once again, ISIS, please take all the credit you want for this bumbling, stumbling, idiotic job that was done. But I had a talk with someone a little earlier today, and they were kind of they were thinking that maybe it really doesn't matter. Why are we focusing on it? Why do we even care if ISIS was involved? And it wasn't quite like that, but it was something along those lines. And I'm not going to call this person out because I think the way I took it originally was wrong. But I'm like, look, if ISIS really was in the planning stages of all this, what it does is it changes how we go about dealing with this issue of terrorists among us. Because if we can take out ISIS, if they're actually part of the plan, part of the planning, and they're providing, not just ideas, but also possibly materials to carry out, terrorist acts, we need to know that. And then we go beyond, in my opinion, we go beyond doing what we did today. The U.S. and allies conducting 13 airstrikes in Syria and Iraq against Islamic State today, and also the U.S. Putting out a bounty on 4 key leaders of ISIS. We'll tell you about that coming up in a little bit here. We also have some other things to talk about, though, on the program today, including the Clintons and how their speech income is all intertwined with the charity. And this from a not exactly conservative rag. I'm Jim Sharp. You're listening to America Continues on USA Radio Networks.